We are banning exploitative zero-hours contracts. I think that's better for workers.
How disingenuous can you be? When Labour figures like Chris Bryant say they're banning zero-hours contracts, it sounds like a blanket ban, but the fine print tells a different story. What they're actually proposing is a right to a contract reflecting your regular working hours after 12 weeks. They will ban exploitative zero-hours contracts, but this leaves room for those who choose them for flexibility. So they're not banning zero-hours contracts entirely, just the ones that they see as unfair. But calling it a ban without mentioning the exceptions gives a stronger impression than the policy delivers. It's a classic case of political branding. Strong-sounding message, softened reality. If you're holding them to the literal meaning of ban zero-hours contracts, then no, they're not. They're regulating them more strictly, not eliminating them altogether.
We're going to be making sure that we end that foul practice of fire and rehire, which simply put people on worse wages than they were on previously.
No. Labour is committed to ending fire and rehire practices to a certain extent. They have pledged to legislate against the tactic, aiming to prevent employers from dismissing employees and rehiring them on less favourable terms. The Employment Rights Bill, introduced in 2024, proposes making it automatically unfair to dismiss an employee for refusing to accept changes to their employment terms, except in specific circumstances where the employer can demonstrate financial necessity. So that's the thing. It's important to note that while Labour's proposed legislation aims to restrict fire and rehire practices significantly, it does not propose a complete ban. Employees could still use this tactic if they can justify it based on financial difficulties affecting their business's viability.
We are making sure that people will be getting rights from the day that they start in work.
That's right. Labour is giving people rights from the very first day they start work, but not full rights. After 12 weeks of continuous employment, workers could have a right to a permanent contract with fixed hours that reflect the work they've been doing regularly. This is designed to give workers more job security after they've proven their reliability and commitment over time. Labour's plan also proposes that workers would be entitled to the same rights as permanent employees, including things like sick pay and holiday pay after they've been working for a certain amount of time. So while it's not immediate, the idea is that the system will gradually transition workers into a more stable contract with full rights after a reasonable period, 12 weeks. It's an effort to balance workers' security with some level of flexibility for employers, but it doesn't offer full rights from the first day of employment, which some critics believe is a missed opportunity to provide more immediate protection.
We're going to build more homes in this country because people need homes, and there's a whole generation of people who don't stand a chance of being able to move into, even rent their own home.
Unlikely. Industry experts are sceptical about the achievability of Labour's target. David Thomas, CEO of Barrett Redrow, highlighted the need for comprehensive reforms in planning and construction methods to meet such a goal, acknowledging the inherent challenges. Supporting this view, research by Savills, commissioned by the National Housing Federation and the Home Builders Federation, suggests that without increased investment in social housing and support for first-time buyers, there could be a shortfall of up to 95,000 homes annually, potentially leaving the 1.5 million target unmet. Additionally, the Centre for Cities projects that, based on historical trends and current planning systems, Labour might fall short by at least 388,000 homes by 2029, with Greater London potentially missing its target by 196,000 homes. Beyond the numerical target, the distribution of these homes is crucial. The government has identified more than 100 sites across England competing to become new towns, aiming for developments with at least 40% affordable housing. But the definition of affordability is crucial here. However, ensuring these homes are built in areas with high demand and adequate infrastructure remains a complex task. Local authorities have expressed concerns about meeting these targets, citing challenges such as limited available land, especially in regions with significant greenbelt areas.
Of course, inflation was down to 2% on our watch.
Haha, this is a good one. Mims Davis' assertion that inflation was reduced to 2% during her party's tenure overlooks the broader inflationary trends experienced between 2019 and 2024. While there may have been periods where inflation temporarily decreased to around 2%, the overall average inflation rate during that period was notably higher. According to data from the UK Office for National Statistics, the Consumer Prices Index inflation rates for the years 2019 to 2024 averaged out at 5.4% over the 6-year period between 2019 to 2024. The data indicates a significant increase in inflation starting from 2021, peaking at 9.1% in 2022 and remaining elevated throughout 2023. This surge was influenced by various factors, including global supply chain disruptions and energy price fluctuations. While there was a decrease to 3.6% in 2024, the overall trend during the Conservative government's tenure was marked by rising inflation rates. So while certain periods may have seen inflation rates around 2%, the average inflation rate from 2019 to 2024 was significantly higher. Therefore, attributing a 2% inflation rate solely to specific periods without acknowledging the broader context of rising inflation during that time is misleading.
We were, of course, seeing the economy going in the right direction after some really tough times.
Brace yourself. Mims Davis' assertion that the UK economy was improving under the Conservative government leading up to the June 2024 general election presents a nuanced picture that merits deeper analysis. While certain indicators showed positive trends, a comprehensive examination reveals underlying challenges that suggest a more complex economic landscape. In the first quarter of 2024, the UK's GDP grew by 0.6%. So the economy was improving. This marked the end of a technical recession. But this growth was not sustained, as April 2024 saw the economy flatline with a 0% growth rate attributed to factors such as inclement weather affecting retail and construction sectors and businesses delaying purchases pending the election outcome. Inflation decreased to 2.3% in April 2024, just above the Bank of England's target. This decline was primarily driven by falling energy prices. However, services inflation remained persistently high at 5.9%, marginally down from 6% in March, indicating underlying inflationary pressures beyond energy costs. The UK's productivity growth has significantly lagged behind that of other G7 nations. Between 2007 and 2022, GDP per hour worked in the UK grew by approximately 6%, compared to 17% in the US, 12% in Japan, and 11% in Germany. This stagnation contributed to sluggish wage growth and diminished living standards. Investment spending in the UK has been relatively low, averaging 18% of GDP from 2017 to 21, compared with 25% in Japan, 23% in France, and 21% in the United States. This underinvestment has implications for future economic growth and competitiveness. And the period from 2021 onwards has been characterised by renewed austerity measures, including cuts to universal credit and discussions of further public spending reductions. These policies faced criticism for potentially suppressing economic growth and contributing to income inequality. So these economic challenges preceding the June 2024 election have carried over into the subsequent period, regardless of the political party in power. The UK's economy continues to grapple with low productivity growth, investment deficits, and persistent inflationary pressures. Additionally, external factors such as trade tensions, exemplified by the US tariffs on UK goods, have introduced further uncertainties. In summary, while surface indicators like GDP growth and declining inflation rates in early 2024 might suggest economic improvement, a deeper analysis reveals persistent structural issues. These challenges are likely to continue influencing the UK's economic trajectory in the near future, irrespective of governmental leadership.
People are feeling the squeeze. It is really difficult out there. The average worker is continuing to feel austerity. 1 in 6 workers are skipping a meal on a daily basis. That is the reality. They are still having to make a decision between heating and eating. That hasn't changed.
This is absolutely scandalous because it is correct. According to a survey conducted by the Trades Union Congress, in January 2025, 17% of full or part-time workers in the UK reported skipping meals in the past 3 months to reduce spending. Of these, 10% skip meals every day, or most days. This issue has been escalating over time. A 2019 TUC survey found that 20% of workers had skipped meals to make ends meet, up from 13% in 2017. These statistics underscore the growing financial challenges faced by many workers, leading to difficult choices like foregoing meals to manage expenses.
I would be irresponsible if I brought a child into this world because I don't have enough money to go from paycheck to paycheck, because as a doctor, the government, irrespectively today, didn't even meet our pay needs that they agreed on when we ended the strikes.
Awkward. This is a situation that seems to indicate the government has adhered to the letter of an agreement with doctors, but not its spirit. In July 2024, the government and the British Medical Association agreed to a 2-year pay deal for junior doctors in England, comprising a 4% backdated pay rise for 2023 to 4, in addition to an existing 9% increase for that financial year, and a further 8% rise for 2024 to 25, as recommended by an independent pay review body. But the British Medical Association has indicated that this deal was merely a starting point, aiming to address years of below-inflation pay awards. They have emphasised the need for continued above-inflation pay increases in subsequent years to fully address the issue. Failure to meet these expectations could lead to further industrial action. The government has maintained that the agreed-upon pay increases are substantial and aim to balance fiscal responsibility with fair compensation for NHS staff. However, they have also indicated that any real terms wage increases must be backed by productivity gains, rejecting union calls to restore public sector pay to pre-austerity levels.